some of you have had the opportunities to win souls. And those souls are people who are not able to understand or speak English. But because you have refused to identify as an African, because you have refused to accept what God has given to you, God has created you and put you in Africa to answer African. What a huge responsibility. You have refused to identify. You have let those souls just waste. Some of them have even died. Have you ever wondered? This movie, Abejoye, just opened my eyes to a lot of things. Oloye Abejoye, if the pastor in the US did not show him that act of kindness and eventually win him over to the side of Christ by preaching to him in Yoruba language, reading the Bible to him in Yoruba language, do you think he would have given his life to Christ? In fact, that would have been a case of a whole community dying and perhaps a lot of people or a whole community dying and going to hell. Because the winning of Oloye Abejoye's soul made it possible for a lot of people to be won to Christ in that community before and after he came back to the community. You are not thinking of that. One of the fulcrums of Christianity is identity, because if you're not able to identify yourself as a Christian, you cannot function maximally. In fact, you cannot even function as a Christian, not to talk of maximally, if you don't identify yourself. This same identity it can also be related to the fact that God has created you and made you African, but you have refused to identify as an African. Some of you are proud to open your how many years old lips to say you cannot speak Igbo or Hausa or Yoruba. You can't identify with your origin. You are an Igbo person. You are happy after spending 20 years on earth or 40 years. You are happy to say you cannot speak Igbo or you cannot speak or you cannot understand it. So how are you able? So you think spreading the gospel, this mandate that we have been given as Christians, you think you are only able to achieve it by speaking English and understanding English? You have a long way to go. I remember in my JS1, I was in a school, missionary school, where we read Igbo Bible. In fact, it was one of the first things they wrote in our prospectus for us to bring. And my father bought me an Igbo Bible. I learned how to read Igbo Bible from that school. Before then, I had known how to speak Igbo, understand Igbo. But reading, I learned it from there. That school, we used our Igbo Bible until I left that school. So I learned how to read Igbo. Yeah, and I was very grateful. So some of you don't even know how to speak or understand Igbo or Hausa or Yoruba, depending on where you're from. Or Ijo, wherever you're from. I'm just mentioning these major tribes as an instance. I can't mention all of them, there are a lot. So some of you can't even understand it. So how are you able now? You have seen the light because you're opportune to know how to speak and understand English. But you have refused for other people to see the light. You have refused. And how have you refused? By not taking advantage of what God has given to you. In fact, you are telling God that He wasted His time by creating Nigeria, creating these ethnic groups, and creating these languages. You are telling Him He's wasted His time. Because this is a gift from God. It is something God has given to us. So if you are calling it nonsense, you are practically saying that God wasted His time. And there is nothing God has created that is a waste. You are the one who is not. In fact, someone was saying that laziness in the Bible is called wickedness. And it just flashed in my head. I'm like, it's not just laziness that should be called wickedness. I am sure your inability or your consistent refusal to explore nature, explore what God has given to you, and called the creation of God stupid is wickedness. Because what is more wicked than someone creating something that he knows, definitely knows, or she knows is good for you, and you just throw it away and say, this nonsense? What's more wicked than that? That is what some of you are doing. Today, I'm here to poke my fingers into the eyes of all of you that are happy saying, I cannot speak Igbo, I cannot speak Yoruba, I cannot speak Hausa. And some of you, a lot of you, I bet you, if they even set tests for you in English, you will fail woefully. You will fail woefully. And yet, you are happy, braggadooing that you don't know how to speak your language. this is still me talking about Abejoye, the movie. The movie is very interesting. Oloy Abejoye's life is, like, the whole movie centered around his life, and him giving his life to Christ became a big win for the kingdom, because through him, a lot of other persons were able to give their lives to Christ. So if that Yoruba man traveled to the US and was forming Uweshan, and, jettisoned his Yoruba culture, how would he have been able to speak to Oloy Abejoye for him to understand? If this is the first time coming across my channel, kindly like my video, subscribe, turn on your post notification bell so that you get notified of all my videos when I post them. Trust me, I post useful content. Now, I know I've already spoken a lot about, the whole language thing. It's something that I really hold to my heart. I hold it close to my heart. Growing up, my parents taught me Igbo in the house. Igbo language is something that I learned from the house. I learned English in school because it was a subject. Same way I learned mathematics, I learned English language. So, but nowadays, we teach our children English language in the house. Then they go to school. Schools do not also teach them their native languages. I hear schools don't teach that again. In fact, when I was in school, it wasn't even a serious thing. Like, English was taken more seriously than Yoruba and Igbo and Hausa that were being taught at that time. It wasn't on a serious, in fact, I think we didn't even have Hausa teacher. It was written that we would learn Hausa, but we didn't have Hausa teacher. And our Yoruba and Igbo, especially Yoruba classes, they were not serious. And it was quite sad. So you can imagine the next generation. In fact, this is our generation. A lot of us don't even know how to speak or understand our languages. A lot of us think not being able to speak our language and understand means that we are fresh, means that we are civilized, means that we are modern. And I can't join, and I can't understand it. Please merge civilization and modern living with not knowing how to speak your language. How does that make sense? It doesn't make sense. Being modern is being able to catch up with the reality, like what is happening of today. And what is happening, it has nothing to do with you not identifying with yourself. You can speak all the English you want and nothing is in your head. You can speak all the English you want and you're not able to achieve anything. English is not a gateway to having everything in life, my sister, my brother. That's not the way it should go. Please, teach your children your native languages. Be it Hausa, Yoruba, Ijo, Calabar, whatever language you speak. There are a lot. And sometimes people tell me, like, I remember one time like that, I think it was in secondary school. I asked someone, she was a Lagos girl. So Lagos girls in school were like people that lived in Lagos, but they were in our school. So it was a boarding and day school. So most students were boarders. And Lagos girls were the ones that their parents, their original state, place of residence is, Lagos State, but, they schooled in Owerri, FGGC Owerri, so they used to come to school during holidays, they go back to Lagos. So they were Lagos girls. So this girl was a Lagos girl. I asked her, and we were kind of close. I asked her if she knew how to speak Igbo. She said no. She was an Igbo girl. She said no. So I was like, okay, why? She said, because she was born and bred in Lagos. I said, okay, so you know how to speak Yoruba? She said no. I weak. I'm like, so why is it an excuse for you that you were born and bred in a Yoruba land and yet you don't know how to speak? So I understand the fact that some people don't know how to speak Igbo or Hausa or Yoruba or whatever language that it is because of where they were born, and their parents somehow maybe were not able to teach them Igbo or Yoruba or whatever it is. But you are able to at least speak the language of the people that you have been born in their land. At least you're able to identify with a Nigerian language or two Nigerian languages. But you can't identify with any Nigerian language. And your name is now Philip John, Abi Philip Jane Franca, whatever. So how are you able to identify? Supposing something happens now and they say they are saving only Nigerians. How can you identify? Some of you don't even know the road to your village. So I know that the village part of it, like not being able to know the road to your village, is a whole lot of things. Like a whole lot of factors have contributed to it. Poor government. contribute to it, because if the government is able to, open up cities, different cities in Nigeria and villages, a lot of us will never find ourselves in Lagos. A lot of us will not be in Abuja and all the places that we have migrated to. We would have simply been in our villages, being there, living beautiful lives, having access to, all the necessary amenities, living good. But because we don't have all these things in our various villages, that's the reason we are migrating from our villages to, the urban places. So I can understand why someone is not able to speak Yoruba because you were not born in Yoruba land and your parents did not teach you that. But what about learning the other one? Like, it doesn't make sense. Try and identify with at least a Nigerian culture. Identify. It is a sign of irresponsibility, high irresponsibility, for you to be a grown person, whether man or woman, and you can't identify with any Nigerian culture, and you are Nigerian or you are African. You can't identify with any of your cultures. It's a shame. I'll tell you for free. I think I'm the only one that can tell you the truth. Other people will tell you nonsense. They'll tell you, yeah, it's what are you using? What will it benefit you? My sister, my brother, it will benefit you a lot. A lot. As a Christian, we are even supposed to be the forerunners of this thing, because identity is crucial in anything you're doing, identity. But a lot of us Christians don't even have that understanding. It's a shame. So thank you so much for being with me on today's episode of OziomabyGoziem. I hope you join me next time when I come your way with another interesting video. Bye.